dude, most non-egregious, dude. All right. Yes, hello, everyone. I apologise for going on 1990s there. Hello. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. We're not playing Cyberpunk, as you've probably no doubt realised. Yes, I'm still painting my Age of Darkness Horus Heresy dudes. And I figured I'll just do this instead, because I've still got a bit of a problem with my ears, so I can't really have headphones in and lots of loud banging and shooting without hurting my ears. So can't really play games at the minute with headphones on, so we'll carry on doing the painting as we did yesterday. So welcome one and all to a last minute live stream. We're going to be painting more Horus Heresy figures. Lots of dry brushing today to do highlights. But before we get going, let me do all the usual shout-outs, get them all out of the way. I'll just move the microphone. Hang on. Adjusting. There we go. I'll do all the usual shout-outs. First and foremost, my sponsors, this show and this stream and this channel. And me personally, and my hair, and my trousers, and my table, and all that things are brought to you by my sponsors, emodels.co.uk, your one-stop shop for all your model making needs, all of them, all the needs, they are brought to you by them. They bring them to you. They say, here are all your needs on a plate. There you go. So emodels.co.uk. Go and check them out. Link in the description below. Make sure you use it. And if you do, you're lovely. And if you don't, you're still lovely, but you need to go and use it. So emodels.co.uk, my supporters and my sponsors. Big thank you to them. And of course, thank you to my patrons and channel members who literally pay my wages each month. They're very kind and they give their money to me, and I can keep doing this for a job. I do this for a living, so I can keep making content. A big thank you to my patrons and channel members. You can become a patron by going to patreon.com/modelmakingguru. The address is down there somewhere. Or if you want to become a channel member, you can just press the join button underneath any of my video content, and that way you can become a member. You get loads of free extra stuff. You get loads of exclusive things. If you're a member, you get access to little icons for your name in the chat, and you also both patrons and members get access to the live 24/7 Zoom hangout that's off air but live, where you can hang out with your friends and just have a good time. Hang out with all the patrons and members of my channel and of my friend Colin's channel at Festy67's workshop. So go and do that. But yes, that's big thank you to all of them. Now we are going to be carrying on with painting these dudes, so it's going to be not very exciting painting wise, just lots of dry brushing. So I have got the chat in front of me. Unfortunately, because of the layout of the bench at the minute, and because the camera's over here and I've got all these dudes over here and the iPad's over there, so it's a little hard to see. So if you want to catch my attention in chat, please do put @modelmakingguru at the start of your comment, because that puts my name in an orange box and it stands out and I can see it. Or if you want to, you can do a super chat. You can press the little dollar symbol at the bottom of the chat window, puts the super chat in, you get a big coloured box, I can't miss your comment, and you get a little animation that pops up in the top of the screen somewhere up there, and little noise happens and I can hear that. So if you want to grab my attention, do an @ or do a super chat. So there you go. Let's have a quick look and see who is in. McLeish was the first in. He says, more Horse Heresy, or is that Horse Hershey Wolf's edition? And then it just went downhill from there, basically. Lynn Dipple is in. Big hugs to you, Lynn, and to you, Andy. I'll give you a hug anyway. We have Shellard's in. Mark Shellard's in, who instantly lost 100 XP because he said yo yo yo, and it's after 1994, and it's just not happening. That, come on now, dude. We have Eon's Car is in, says welcome to all. Welcome Eon's Car, welcome. And I think that's everyone in chat so far. Jeff's in. Jeff at Candyman for Mongo. Hey Jeff, big hugs to you and to Eon's Car as well. So big hug to all of you in chat. As usual, I don't expect big viewing figures for these because it's normally a game stream and they don't get big live views. But if you are watching, do come and join the live chat. If you're embedded in Facebook or Twitter or on Patreon or something like that, click the YouTube icon in the bottom right hand corner of the player. That'll take you to YouTube. You can carry on watching and you can join the live chat. So, yes, so today we will be carrying on with the Horus Heresy. They have been primed in Mechanicus Standard Grey Spray. They have had a wash of the Agrax Earthshade, because of course, also known as Duncan's Tears. That's how they make Agrax Earthshade. When Duncan cries, he sheds a single, when he sees, basically, the myth is, to make Agrax Earthshade, what they do is they show Duncan, right, a badly painted mini that's not had two thin coats done. And every time he sees a mini with like horrible paint job that's not had two thin coats, that's been straight from the pot, he sheds a single tear of Agrax Earthshade, and that's how they milk him that way. They keep showing him all these terrible minis and he just sheds a single tear of Agrax Earthshade, and that's where it comes from. Apparently, that's the rumour. So they've had that. Now today what we're going to do is we're going to do the highlighting stage. I did do all this by airbrush the other week and it went totally wrong and I just gave up, so I'm doing it by dry brushing now because I enjoy dry brushing. It's quite relaxing. So we're going to be doing some very simple highlights. I want it to stay a bit dark and grubby with the Agrax. It's supposed to be that way, which is why I was fairly careful putting it on and not making it too splotchy and coffee stainy. But I'm going to do some light dry brushing of the Mechanica Standard Grey to bring back some highlights. And then once I've done that, I'll do some very light dry brushing of Dawnstone just to bring some extra highlights to it. But it's not like dry brushing to get the edges and things. It's dry brushing to build out some, like on the pauldron, I'll build out the patch of highlight. But what I do need to do is figure out who's going to have a red pauldron and who's not. So what I'll need for that, before I do any painting, is my... Oh, hang on. Decals. I need the Space Marine, the Space Wolves decals from the Forge World. I got these when they were Forge World. Okay, so they're in the 40k Space Wolves, they're no use. Those are 40k Space Wolves, so they're no use. Put them back in the bag, in the box, in the envelope, in the place where they were, whatever it is. Hang on. La 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 la. Because this, of course, is Horus Heresy, not 40k, it's 30k. It's 10,000 years before the Great Chapters were formed. I think, I don't know, I could be wrong on that. So what we have here that you can't actually see, because it's overexposed, is a whole sheet of decals. Now, here's the plan. Here is the very plan, you see. Let me get a pointy stick of pointiness. Now, you see what we have here? We have many, many markings, Mahoney, of the Space Wolves wolf head, which will be what's his name's Great House in 40k. So I'm going to use these. The problem is, sometimes you see Space Wolves in the Heresy with grey pauldrons, and sometimes you see them with a red right pauldron. If I do a red right pauldron, I can't put the red wolfy head on there, because that's a bit rubbish. So I'm thinking I could use the red pauldron and use the gold wolfy head, but I've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'm hoping I can put these on reverse so they face the other way, because they need to face the other way, because it's for the right pauldron, not the left pauldron. So I need to test that. But yeah, so I've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's like, oh. So I can only have 10 dudes with red pauldrons, which is a bit rubbish. So I've decided to keep the red pauldrons just for specific dudes. So what I'll have is the sergeants, who I'm also referring to as big birds, because they've got the beaky and they've got the big fluffy head thing. They're going to have the red pauldron. So there's 4 of those. I've got 4. So I've actually built this. I've kind of shot myself in the foot a bit, really. And I said butt then. That I've built it with 4 sergeants, so it's 4 squads of 10. If I'd been smart, I probably would have built it as just 1 sergeant and like 150 dudes that go with them. So we've got 4 sergeants. 1, 2. For some reason, it's really hard to see the sergeants, even though they've got a big feathery thing on their head. It's hard to pick them out of the crowd. Where are they? 1, 2. Let me stand up. Where's my sergeants? I don't know why, but my brain just can't pick them out, even though they've got the headdress. 1, 2, and they're also usually carrying power swords. Where are they? Come on now. I think I've got 1, 2. I'm looking at every Space Marine's head and not. There's 1, 3. Oops, we've got a Klingon. There's 3. And where's the other one? 1 more. I need somebody with a sword. Where are you? Where are you? He's here somewhere. Come on, there he is. He's not got a sword. So I've got 4 of them. They're going to have red pauldrons. So that's 4. And I have got a list of the markings for different things. And if I remember rightly, the red pauldron is sort of a command or higher echelon rank type thing. So of course these guys are going to have red pauldrons. The 2 praetors. So that's 1 there and 1 there. So that's 6. Where's the other one? The other one is there. So that's 6. But that basically leaves me with 2 more. So I was going to give my my Nuncio Vox and my some other guys then, but I haven't got a choice really, so I'm going to have to just stick it to 4 sergeants and the 2 praetors, and they're the only 2 that get red pauldrons. Obviously the dreadnought gets red pauldrons as well, but they have different markings. I need to figure out what they need to be. So I'm only going to use 6. I also need to double check that I can put these on the wrong way round. So I'm going to have to sacrifice a different decal to see if it can be applied reverse. I'm going to do that now first while I've got the chance. So I'm going to put these guys back over there. I need to then, basically what I need to do now is not do any highlights on their pauldrons because they're going to be red, so I don't need to do that. So let's have a look. What I need to do is sacrifice a decal. I'm not going to do proper decaling it, it's just literally I'm going to cut one out and just wet it and then see what it looks like reversed. So let's cut out one of these other wolf heads. Because you get all the red ones there, and then you get more red ones there. Oh, we got some more. Oh no, they're slightly different. See, these are slightly different. I don't want to put in like the wrong ones because these are slightly different. So yeah, I'm going to stick with them where I've got the most of them. Let's cut out a random decal. Let's cut this weird little symbol out. Hang on, a bit of that. I know you can't see me doing this. Excuse me. So we've got one decal there. I'll put the decal sheet away because it's very expensive and I don't want to damage it. I got this decal sheet way back when it was only available on Forge World, and I was doing some Space Wolves, and I ordered the Space Wolves but ordered the wrong one, so I got the Horus Heresy one by mistake. So yeah, that's why I've got the Horus Heresy sheet. Just put that back there if I can. Hang on, I'm just filing. I'm filing. Things that come off shelves and don't fit back on the same shelf, it's very strange. I don't understand. Hang on. Fighting, fighting. Get on the shelf. Gosh darn it. I'll do that later. There we go. Put it there for now. Filing. Things that fit on shelves just about, so when you take them out, you can't get them back in again. So what we'll do, we'll get some tweezers, and I will, very quickly, I'm just going to dip this in my paintbrush water just to get it wet. And while we wait, I'll have a look at chat. Let's have a look. Who's come in since? Linda Paul says, those 2 big gold ones look like seahorses. There are some seahorsey looking ones on there. I think they're specific, but that's the only thing I'm not 100% familiar with Horus Heresy markings, and I've got very few resources to find out. So I don't want to do it wrong, but I don't want to do it. You know, I want to make them look good, but I don't want to do it wrong. Seahorse head. Big Bird, they're going to be Grover, Elmo the Count, and Oscar the Grouch. Now, all the sergeants are Big Birds. That's what I just called them, Big Birds. I decided that's what they were. The other guys are just regular beakies, you see. La 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 la. And if it's a red right pauldron, it's the 13th company, says Andy McLeish. Okay, because I thought, I was doing the 6th. That's kind of, but companies are 40k, not 30k, aren't they? I think. My understanding is I'm just doing them. If somebody knows more than me, do tell me. My plan is to paint them, obviously the black pauldron on the left with the knobbles, grey pauldron on the right for most of the rank and file, but the sergeants and the 2 praetors have a red one with the gold wolf head. The other guys will just get the regular red wolf head on the grey pauldron. Do tell me if that's completely wrong. But they don't have companies in Heresy, do they? It's just space. I don't know. I can't remember. Power of the Emperor. Space Hamster's in says, hey everyone, building some Indomitus Outriders and finally joining a live stream again. Welcome, Space Hamster. You're more than welcome. Welcome, welcome. Power Swords, says Eon's car. Powerful secrets revealed to me the day I shoved my head into the warp and became a dribbling idiot, says Annie McLeish. You sure you weren't a dribbling idiot and then put your head into the warp? I'm not sure it's an either or. Now I've forgotten that decals from Forge World do take half a lifetime to actually separate out. Yes, I do have some little reference images, but we'll see what happens. Come on, shifty. But that's my plan. Grey pauldrons for the rank and file with the red wolf head, and then just give the sergeants the red pauldron. Because I've got one image that says it's like a command pauldron, used for command. I don't know. I've still not figured out what half the symbols on the transfer sheet are, and it doesn't tell you anywhere. There's nowhere to find out that I found out a lot what the symbols mean. Like, one of the symbols looks like a symbol for destroyer units, but I don't know what a destroyer unit is. So we'll have to wait and see. Right, so that's there. Now, can I stick this on the other way round? Let's do a test. I've got a spare base here. Base! How low can you go? So let's just get the decal off. Put it on the other way. And see if it sticks. So I'll get that. I'll get myself and cotton bud. Bud of the cotton. You may have noticed this is not actually painting. Well done. Nothing gets past you. So I'll put it on there. It's not really sticking brilliantly, but we'll see. It's not exactly a brilliant. I shouldn't on the other side really, I should on the inside. Let's just take that up again. And we'll put it on the other side of the base because that's smooth. Might be a bit of a fairer test. I hope this is all on camera. Put that there. We'll put it under there because it's easier to stick onto a flat surface. Right, so that can go there. A little bit of moist. I think I've got the camera in just the wrong position, that it's completely terrible. I can't get my left hand in anywhere. Bit of that. Oops. We'll try some microset microsol, just to be safe. If I can get those without knocking me water over. Microset and microsol, let's do it now. Right, there's some microset. Ah, the vinegar smell of happiness. That I've not smelled. It's been a while since I've done decals. Give that a second. Then we'll do some microsol. But while we're waiting, how is everyone? I hope you're all well and fine and dandy. I hope you're enjoying your weekend so far. You had a good start to it, I hope. Like I say, I normally do a gaming stream on a Saturday and a Friday, but I haven't done because I've got a problem with my ears at the minute, so I'm having some listening issues, and putting on headset will be kind of uncomfortable. I'll just put that back up there, and there we go. I think switching the decals around will be fine. You're the idiot that caused me to become a dribbling loon, says McLeish. Destroyer squads were the unfortunate ones to be given melter or high-powered radiation weapons. The armour was always a charred black after a while. Oh, yes. Yes. McLeish was going by the description of the missing Space Wolves from the Heresy, but they still had the old Heresy colours and they were donated by a red shoulder pad, lore-wise anyway. Ah. I was told that there's a bit of freedom with Heresy stuff. You can get a bit free with the designing, but I'll just have to hope that the way I do it is fine and somebody still buys it. Because, yeah, that could go horribly wrong. So I'm going to put these guys over there just for now, because I theoretically don't need to paint their shoulder pads. Sorry, pauldrons, not shoulder pads, you spoon. So I'll put them over there. In fact, why don't I just do their shading first? That'd be a lot easier, wouldn't it? Now, I may need to move the camera because it's right in the wrong place, but we'll figure that out in a bit. But yes, how is everybody? I hope you're all well. Don't forget, of course, the most important question of the year is bench and belly. What is on your bench? What are you working on right now? And what's in your belly? What you're having for your dinner, or what have you had for your dinner? I demand you tell me with the words of telling. Yes. Right, so here we go. That's very dark. Why am I suddenly very dark? Let me just adjust things, because have I missed a light somewhere? No, all my lights are on. Let me just adjust some lightings. So you can see that's all overexposed now, but my hands are a bit glowy, but at least you can see the dude. That's all that matters. Because there's a light right there, you see, it's just right there. Right, so ignore my hand glowing like it's red hot. So what we're going to do, we're going to start off with some Mechanicus Standard Grey. Now, I did try this with airbrushes. But I learned very quickly that my airbrush is 0.35, and 0.35 for me personally is a little bit too big for doing shading on dudes. So I need to find some. Where's my little brushes for? Let me just get some decent dry brushing brush. I need some small ones. So, and I also mixed the paint far too thin, and it just didn't work out very well. So I thought, you know what? I'll just go back to doing it the old way. I know what I'm doing that way. Okay, we've got one of those. That one's a bit wet. One of those. Just selecting some brushes. All I can smell is the vinegary smell from the microsol. Hello, darkness, my old friend. Right, let's start with those two. La la la. Doing great, Vox, says Lane. Still trying to figure out how to improve the upload speed on the T-Mobile home internet. I wouldn't. It's what it is. A mobile internet is going to be what it is. You can't. You'll be stuck with whatever that limit is, unfortunately. Hey, unless it's different. Unless they've got different service levels. I'm hopefully enjoying a very rare 3-day break from work, says Jeff. I'm trying to remember what I like to do when I'm not working. Meat. Eat all the meat in the world. That's what you need to do. I would recommend that strongly. My recommendation would come with strongness. I'm trying to put this thing back in my... Put things in my paint rack when I can't get to it. Right. Ian's car says, doing well, on the bench, building Nurgle Sisters for upcoming tea chicken stir fry. Tea chicken what? Building Nurgle Sisters for upcoming tea chicken stir fry. And for gaming Genshin Impact. Oh, right. Oh, God. Commas, people, commas. Building Nurgle Sisters for upcoming tea chicken stir fry. I misread your comma there. So you did a comma correctly. I misread it. For upcoming Sisters Chicken Stir Fry and for gaming Genshin Impact and Cyberpunk 2077. How are you finding? What are you playing 2077 on? Is it on PC or the consolings? How are you finding it? Tell me with the words. Now, I'm going to do one as a test because I don't know whether to do Mechanica Standard. Well, I kind of need to, I suppose. I was going to see if I could just go straight to Dawnstone, but I think I need to start with Mechanica Standard Grey. Mechanica Standard Grey. Look at that. My little paint pot's got a hair. It's got a hair on it. It's like an antenna. It's picking up the CIA's radio transmissions. It's the CIA. They're after me. You see, they live in my radiator. They watch me all the time. Right. Let's do the dry brushage. Let's do this, guys. Yeah, we'll do this, guys. We'll just do it. Just shut up and do it, folks. You know what I mean? Cyberpunk 27 on the PS4. Ooh. How are you finding it? Andy McLeish says, how are I? I'm working. You've never been working. You don't work. You're well out of warranty, you are. The upload speed on mobile internet is always half the speeds, but always suffers from the network optimization, i.e. usually the low end of things, says Andy McLeish. Andy also suggests that Jeff tries to take over the world. Yeah, so he's like a good noble aim, I would say. Now this is going to have to be done very carefully because two reasons. One, I don't want to impart any massive texture to these dudes, so I can do it on his pauldron just as a test. I'm going to paint over it red anyway. I don't want to really impart lots of texture to it, but all I'm trying to do is create a sort of a transition between the grey with the wash on it, so it looks a bit dirtier and darker, and then the clean grey. And I want to make it as smooth as possible, which you'll see me doing these little circular motions. It's not fast process. On a pauldron like this, it's kind of cool because it's nice and smooth and I can get that difference. But it's weird that Mechanica Standard Grey with the wash actually looks lighter than Mechanica Standard Grey, which is weird. So my other option, of course, is to instead go straight for Dawnstone and see what happens. Because it might be worth just going straight to Dawnstone and then that might actually work. See if I've got that brush dry yet. Is that brush dry yet? I'll do. Give it a try with Dawnstone. I'm going to paint these guys' pauldrons red anyway, so let's give it a try straight with Dawnstone. This might look a bit too harsh, but like I say, my airbrush was I think 0.35 is just a bit too big to do good transitions on little figure. I think I'd need to get a 0.2 airbrush or something. I don't think this brush is dry. Let me clean it and dry it with the hairdryer. Hang on a minute. Hairdryer going in. This may be annoying. I haven't got another brush, you see, I can use for this, so... Or have I? What's that? Oh, hang on. Hang on a moment, I do. Never mind, hairdryer going away again. Go away, hairdryer. Noisy hairdryer. People don't like noisy hairdryer. I'll put that over there. Right. Let's try again. Not that buggy, had a few crashes, but other than that, going slowly. 30-40 minute playtime every few days, says Ian's car. I'm up to about, I think, 300 hours now. I am that man. Now, the thing with Dawnstone is, when you go back in with the original base colour, sometimes it gives you a nice smooth transition or a nice smooth finish. When you go in with a very light colour like Dawnstone, your actual transition can look a bit grainy and bitty, and it's not ideal. However, I think if we do, I don't know which I prefer, because I would do Dawnstone on top of the Mechanica Standard Grey, but that would be a second level of dry brushing. Let's try Dawnstone over that. Put some Dawnstone on top of the Mechanica Standard Grey. Obviously, the more colours you use, the better the transitions and the better it looks, but still quite a subtle transition. My thing is that I don't know if it comes out on camera, you can't really see it, but the dark area that's got the Agrax Earthshade doesn't look like a darker grey. It looks like a different colour of grey, which is kind of weird. So it doesn't come out as a highlight, it comes out as just like a transition between two colours, which is odd. Never experienced that before. I think the Dawnstone, just on its own, might be the better option because it looks like a lighter version of the Agrax Earthshaded Grey. So I think that's what we're going to do, is we're going to go with Dawnstone. So we shall give that brush a rinse, because I think that's going to give me a better transition. It's kind of weird. It doesn't look like you're going from dark grey to medium grey to light grey. It looks like, with Mechanica Standard Grey, going from a weird yellowy brown grey to a bluey grey. It's like, okay. I think if I'd used Null Oil, that would have made a bigger difference, but I didn't use Null Oil. So there you go. There you go. So let's crack on. I've got 50 of these guys to paint. Still remember a time before the internet. What on earth did I do for entertainment? Then feel lost without it now, says Shellard. Yeah, I know. I remember the pre-internet times involving a lot more beer. I still remember the internet near the late 90s, says Ian's car. I think I first got internet in about 2001, and that was dial-up. Maybe, well, I first experienced internet in the late 90s. AOL dial-up and that kind of stuff. But my first internet here at home was about 2001 or 2, because I didn't actually need. It wasn't until about 2000 about 1999, 2000. I actually got my first computer anyway. I didn't need a computer up until that point. Mum Fox had a PC in her little front bedroom office, and I used to play games on that. But I wasn't a big gamer at the time, so I had no feelings about having a computer. And I don't know how it happened, but it was more just the drawing on the computer that interested me, that got me into it. When I realised I could draw things, that was like, ooh, now that, because I did some little drawings on Mum Fox's computer, just using whatever, she had some simple program. Like probably just paint or something. And I was like, somebody said, oh, you can get different paint programs. And I remembered using things like Deluxe Paint on the Amiga back in the day. Deluxe Paint and Photon Paint, if you have an Amiga, if you remember those two programs. And that made me think maybe I should get a computer, and then I can do this kind of goodness. So that was a thing that happened. Too much paint. Hope you can see all this. I'm not worried if it's not quite neat and tidy, because I do want the armour to look slightly patchy and crappy. It's got to look worn and battered, and it'll have weathering on it later, so it's really just about getting some highlights on here for the moment, just some lighter patches. I think the Dawnstone is working really well. It's going to take a while. I'm going to be here for hours doing these guys, but it's going to be worth it, I think. Of course, then when I put a shader or a wash or any kind of like streaking or anything on it, it's just going to hide all that work anyway. Completely. Just cover it all up and blend it all away. But I'll know it's there. And I can go in, what I might do is when I've done this, go in with an even lighter highlight, but do that as a flicky dry brush, just to pick out the edges. Then we'll get like a little edge highlight going on. Because this is really just for making sure the armour isn't just one simple colour. And having some shadows. Like I'm going to leave a bit less dry brushing on that leg there, because that leg is that way, so I want it to look like it's in shade, but on the back I can apply a bit more carefully to not get it in the recesses to make it lighter. So you've got a bit of lighting there. I think Agrax was the right colour for the shade there, because in the recesses it looks just right. If I'd done Null Oil, it would be too stark a contrast. But I can see this is going to take me quite a while, because it's going to take me about 10 minutes per mini, I think. So yeah, 1,000 minutes. I don't know what that is in months. On some bits like here I can be quite quick, because I'm just catching the flat panel. It's just, I'm not really doing the flicky to catch the edges. I'm more just kind of doing little back and forth just to... Some of it is just catching edges, but some of it is trying to get a highlight that's soft and blended. Some things like the fingers I can just run the brush over, that's fine, but there's no actual shade on his arm at all. You dimble fox. I'll have to put shade on that. I totally didn't shade his arm. I better do that before I finish him. Ooh. So that's looking a bit better. It's very subtle, but it just gives it that slightly more interesting look. It's not just one flat colour with a wash. I'm just going to put him to the other one. You can see, hopefully. Let me just flip my lenses up so I can see what it looks like. Hopefully you can see a bit of a difference. He is lighter. He looks lighter. But he doesn't look like one flat colour. He's got a hint of shading to him. So he's got the darkness in the recesses. But it's not just like light colour and then dark colour. It's like it's kind of fading here and there. It's not all just solid light grey and dark grey. I hope you get that. I hope it comes out on camera, like on the backpack parts there. It's not just light and then dark brown. It's a gradient in some places. Some places it's a subtle blend between the dark and the light, like on the greave there on the foot. I've got to do his feet yet, and I've got to put some wash on that arm, because somehow I didn't actually wash his arm like a twig. And McLeish is now on the way home. I'll find my way home. Do 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 do. And especially doing this on the feet is almost a waste of time, because they're going to get covered in dirt. But hey. So a lot of this will... I'm tempted to actually overdo the highlights a little bit, just to... because I know they'll get covered up, and that's probably a good idea, actually. Just on the areas where the light would catch, will make it a bit more obvious. Because that gives it that airbrush look then. And I know some bits are being covered up with other colours. I'm happy to do... The reason I'm doing this now is because I don't want to be doing this dry brushing when I've got other colours on the model, like the golds and the bronzes and things like that, because then you just end up dry brushing over all your hard work. This way, I can do all this messiness now, and then it doesn't matter when I paint the rest of it. And because I'm going kind of gently and in little motions, I can get away with a real smooth finish, I think. I hope. I can do a bit of flicky like that in some areas where it's too small, but hopefully this is just coming out really nicely. And it'll make the washed areas look like grease, rather than just light and dark. But we'll leave that one a bit darker. There we go. Right, so there we go. The trick with dry brush, because some people balk at the idea of dry brushing minis. And it's certainly some places where a dry brushing coat won't actually look good. It won't look good at all. It'll be a really bad idea. Let me get some Agrax shape on the arm. But there's nothing inherently wrong with dry brushing. There's nothing actually wrong with dry brushing. The reason dry brushing sometimes doesn't work is when you do it in such a way that it doesn't quite work. You've got to approach it in a certain way. If you're just looking for a flicky dry brush coat, then you can be fairly casual. I need to find a brush for that. But if you're hoping for a smooth finish, come on, give me a brush. If you're hoping for a smooth finish, you've got to then apply some care to it. And that's why I'm going slowly and doing the little motions, you see. I can't believe I didn't shade that arm. Gimboid. And that's where you can get some really nice effects that are comparable to airbrush. Not 100%, but they're not far off. From a distance, they look good enough. So hopefully, it's going to take me don't get me wrong, it's going to take me a long time to do all these guys. It's going to take me ages. And airbrushing, it would be massively faster, but as I don't have a 0.2 airbrush, I can't afford a 0.2 airbrush, which I think I would have needed for such subtle. I mean, I was spraying it on and it was unfortunately too clear, but it was coming out really like the whole leg was just light, and they just came out looking like Dawnstone and nothing else. So this, I think, is a bit better. So we'll put him over there. I'll need to do his arm later. So although this is a slow process, I think it'll be good. Anyway, yes, how is everyone? Hope you're all well. Belly of bench for me. Obviously, you can see what I'm working on. Belly, I have no idea. Not even thought about that yet. I think Mama Fox might have sushi for dinner tonight. But I don't know. I need to go to Tesco's anyway to get some bits and bobs. I don't want to do too much on these shins because they're kind of facing away from the light, so a bit more on this one, perhaps just at the top on this Praetor, but not too much. Praetor's armour is mostly just details, so there's not a lot of shading to do on this one. I mean, if you don't have an airbrush, dry brushing certainly is a good way to get airbrush-like effects. It's the only way to get airbrush-like effects. And I did do my little guide on how to get post shading without an airbrush. Give that a watch. I'll be doing that when Colin and I do the Lehman Russ. I'll be showing him how to do that because I'm not using airbrushes. So if you don't have an airbrush, I do recommend you give this a try. I do recommend strongly, the best brushes I've found for actual really nice smooth dry brushing are these medium base brushes from Citadel. Once they're a little bit fluffy because you've used them for your base painting, they actually work really well as dry brushes. The little teardrop shaped ones. They've just got the right softness about them to make them practical dry brushing. Now, you're not going to get completely smooth transitions like on that. I don't know if you'll see on that shin. It's not a completely smooth transition, but when you see on the plate here, it's got a certain grain to it, which I think if you're not doing a clean marine or a clean whatever you're doing, if you want it to be a clean transition, then that's where you need an airbrush. But if you're doing something a bit, Horus Heresy armour's old and knackered, so it's not meant to be nice and pristine. So this is where the process shines. It is slow, but it's kind of hard to mess it up. Just go very gently, almost no pressure, circular motions, and just it's quite relaxing when you get into the mode of it. Get yourself a podcast going on, or like me, if like you're watching this live stream. Just get that in the background. It's good for covering up bits of blobbiness where the shade went a bit blobby. I can go in with a bit more if I need a real highlight. I can come in with a third highlight colour later. I think I will do that. I'm not sure what colour yet though, but with the airbrush, of course, the downside of the airbrush is you could do your light and dark, but then you've got to sit there and do the recess shade for all your little panels if you want a recess shade, because you just if you did a wash and then airbrush over it, you're just going to airbrush over the wash. That wouldn't work at all. So if you're happy to spend the time, it is possible to get really good effects with dry brushing. It's not the big bad that a lot of artists will shout about. I mean, it's not, you know, there are better techniques. It's a basic technique, but you can still get good results with it. Don't be afraid of it. It's not as effective over big surfaces, but it does work. Nothing to be ashamed of. Unfortunately, it doesn't make for a good live stream because I'm so busy doing it. I'm not paying attention to chat or anything. It's the kind of thing where I need a co-host, really. But I'm guessing Colin was snoozing still, so much deserved. He was up late. But because this is battered armour, this is well used and worn armour, I don't mind if it's a little bit scratchy, because that just enhances the weathering then. For me, in my eye, we will put a little bit of paint in there. A lot of this is gold trim, so see, when I do my Mortarion, this is going to be the kind of technique I use to get highlights on Mortarion's armour. No airbrushing, because this is, especially Mortarion, this is much more of a scratchy, dirty way of making highlights in a lot of ways. So this will be perfect for Mortarion's battered, ginky green armour. Slightly minging armour he's got. I've now got John and Vangelis's Find My Way Home in my head, and there's nothing I can do about it. It's a good song, but yeah, I didn't particularly want it in my head. And the worst thing is on YouTube, I can't sing it to you to put it in your head as a cruelty, because of course copyright. Yeah. So there we go. So that's looking a bit better. Let's compare him to the other one, to the other dude. So you see there, we've got maybe not a massive difference. It's probably easy to see on the back. Not a massive difference, but it's there. You can see it's ever so slightly a bit more soft and subtle and shaded. You could theoretically, I could just leave it at that and not even do it much more than that on these guys, but I will add more, but of course, but just in measured amounts. His pauldron's going to be red, so I don't have to worry about that. So I'll put him over there. He's done. Let's do the next one, the one with the big pointy sword. I'll have a quick look at chat. Along came AOL dial-up connection and constantly told to get off because someone wants to use the phone, says Shellard. Absolutely, yeah, we had dial-up, AOL dial-up. Lynn says, I love dial-up. Not. We used to have it at my brother's ranch. I got a call from my credit card asking if I made a VoIP call from Brazil. I said, no, I have dial-up. Frankie's in. Frankie Goes to Hobbywood says, good evening from a cloudy Germany to Fox and everyone in chat. Big hugs to you, Frankie. Welcome, welcome. What is today's European mystery meat of excitement? Do explain. Because European meat is the best meat, because none of it makes any sense. If you share like a European, especially German or Polish, like if you show a picture of some meat from like Central Europe, it's like, I'll be like, I can't tell you what that is. I have no idea. It's probably delightful, but it's a mystery to me. This is quite a nice colour actually, just using missing out the whole reapplying the base colour stage. It actually makes for a nice sort of grimy light grey. It's quite pleasant. It does make for a nice sort of colour combination. Going straight to the second colour rather than the base colour. Not, you know, so basically going from Mechanica Standard Grey and then the wash and then going straight to the highlight colour rather than doing Mechanica Standard Grey again. It's actually working quite nicely. I'm quite pleased with it. It might be a different story when I do it on the tank or the big Dreadnought, but We'll find that out when we do it. So I'll put a more highlight on the upper thigh there than on the lower thigh, because this is going to be a bit more in shade. So what I'm doing is a mixture of lighting and dirt, but not too much. Like that thigh there is under his cloak and everything else, so no point putting a lot on there. But I'll put some on here, just so it's got a bit of variation. So get yourself a whole mess of these medium base brushes. They really, I need to buy a whole load more. They don't last very long once you've used them for base painting. That's the thing about them. If you use them for base painting, they don't have a really long life because they go a bit fluffy after a little while. They don't last that long for base painting. They don't keep the shape very easily. But that's fine because they're actually better as dry brushing brushes than they are as base brushes, which sounds really weird, I know. So get a whole mess of these. They're not cheap, but get a whole mess of them. And then just use them as dry brushes. And like if I've got a bunch of these, so what I'll do is I'm painting all these guys as I'm doing the dry brushing stage. Every now and then I'll need to just clean the brush out because it'll get clogged up with paint and that'll be a bit scratchy. So what I'll do is after a while I'll switch to another one and clean this one off and leave it to dry for a bit. Or if you've only got one, you can just hair dryer it dry and then carry on from there. It's a really subtle highlight coat, this, but I think it's working. How you doing, Frankie? Bench and belly as always. Looking good, Fox, says Lynn. Thank you. It does look brighter, says Jan's car. Thank you very much. It's very subtle. But this is more for like, it's for a dirty highlight. As in a highlight on something that's dirty and not nice and pristine. You probably couldn't use this method for something that was pristine. You'd want to use an airbrush for that. Or do, if you've not got that, you could do some glazing. But this is good for, if you're doing something that's going to be not in pristine condition, it's going to be weathered and beaten, then it's fine. Vehicles and tanks and old Space Marines in old Space Marine armour. Dip it, dip it, dip, dip, dip. And there have been times when I've had a plan, like, you know, paint something, do a dry brush highlight coat, then do some streaking grime and some dirt and grime and other things, and it's looked so good when I finished the simple dry brushing coat. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to leave it as that. I'm going to leave it like that. I might do a really simple highlight dry brush just later, just an edge highlight, dry brushage, maybe. I don't know what grey I'd use for that. Really light grey, really light grey. Make his foot nice and bright because it's catching the light. I'm a poet and I know it. I make it nice and bright because it's catching the light. Khajiit can write the poetry. You did not know this, but it is true. Do not forget, of course, the most famous Khajiit song of all time. Silly, 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 silly spider. Never was there such a silly spider. If you've got a Skyrim and you can have mods and you've not got, and you're on Xbox or PC and you've not got Inigo, sort it out. You need Inigo in your life. You really do. It has to be a thing that you have in your life. There's no two ways about it. It's not a multiple choice. It's a complete lack of choice. That's what it is. Right, so that's him done, I think. It's really quite subtle. It's the kind of thing you'd have to look at closely to see it. But hopefully in photographs it'll stand out enough and people will be like, ooh, I must give him all my money. That'd be nice. Especially when you've got all the gold trim on there. I know it won't come out on camera, but if I try and zoom in a little bit, I'll see if I can show you. Oh, it won't let me zoom in. Just the shading on the upper chest part there. It doesn't really come out on camera, but it just looks a bit brighter and a bit grimier, hopefully. So it's very subtle, and it's a very slow process, but it's a process. Let's just not deny it's a process. La 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 la. Did we find out what Frankie's mystery European meat of the day is yet? In my belly is yummy deer bratwurst and fifelinge. In English, maybe chanterelles. I don't know what. In English, and then he gives us a French word. Chanterelles. I don't know what chanterelles are. In a creamy sauce as a side dish. Ooh. It doesn't matter if I don't know what they are, Frankie, because they, even just without knowing what they are, they still sound good. So you've done your job there, amicably, most efficaciously. Right, there we go. That's him done. Silly, 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 silly spider. Never was there such a silly spider. Cool. I've done 2 dudes. Well, 3 dudes. This is going to be a long job, but an enjoyable job. It's hard when you're airbrushing. It's easy to screw up. When you're actually dry brushing, it's kind of hard to mess up too much, unless you have too much paint on the brush and it just goes a bit wonky. But you just got to be careful. Go in really gently, almost not touching, and see what happens. This is also a good effect for if you want to suggest something where there's an object that's a certain colour, but it's got a layer of grime, and then a hand's been put on the surface and wiped it off. Like, imagine on the back of a white van, you have the dirty, dirty traffic grime door, but then there's a big clean bit where the door hand goes on the handle. And this is great for that, because you just build up the highlight colour, and the bit that's left behind looks like the bit where it's rubbed off the grime. You can see the proper colour underneath, kind of thing. Why don't I use my painting handle, you dingus? Dingularity. This is where it's all the wrong height now and the camera doesn't work. Get on my base. Yep, I'm going to have to move my camera. Woo! There we go. Now you can see. Hopefully it's all in focus. Yeah, it's probably not. Let me adjust the focus. Hang on. Hallelujah. I apologise, it's a bit dark, but I kind of get that when you're working with dark colours. It's not really a painting tutorial anyway, so you're not going to get that much detail going on. Right, where were we? Doing his foots. It's not just a flicky dry brush. Anyway, never mind all that nonsense. It's all very well me telling you what I'm doing, but I can't spend 3 hours explaining the same thing over and over again. Ask me questions in chat. Start subjects, start conversations, give me something to talk about so I can talk about it. Is that any better? That camera's a bit... No, that's fine. I'll have a look at chat in a moment. I will avail myself of the words that you place into the chat realm. I'll check that decal in a minute. I've noticed a trend in cars, you know, recently. I've seen quite a lot of cars. Like, you get cars in different colours. You get your red, your greens and all that kind of stuff. I've started seeing cars in a sort of what I can describe as Mechanica standard grey colour. Like a warm, pleasing grey. And you often think, you know, a grey car would be the most boring thing in the world. But I've got to say, this weird, warm grey colour that seems to have appeared lately is actually quite a nice colour. So I quite like all these little grey cars. Weird. You wouldn't think they'd be that popular. What colour do you want on your car? You're spending a fortune on this car. 30 grand on this car. What colour do you want? Grey. It's not really what springs to mind, is it? But no, it does seem to work. Seems most pleasant. Pleasing to the eye. I will have to get myself a small airbrush though, like a 0.2, I think. And get practicing with these, because it was the first time I tried actually airbrushing figures, because I've never really airbrushed figures to highlights before. And that's the thing, I wasn't too confident, because I'm like, well, if I just go a little bit wrong with the airbrush, I've just highlighted the wrong bit and I have to really go and correct it. Whereas if I'm brushing it, I control exactly where the highlight is. I can't really mess it up too much. Where are we? Pfifferling is a mushroom. I like the word Pfifferling. Das ist ein Pfifferling. Sounds like a baby Pfiffer. Here is a Pfiffer. Here is a Pfifferling. It is the baby. Yeah. Hee hee. Or like, you know, it's a FIFA or FIFA until it has an evolution when it levels up. Then it becomes starts off as a Fifaling. You know, Pokemon. I'll just shut up. Joke died, Fox. Give it up. I make this leg a little bit brighter because this one is in sunlight. That one's in shadow, so I'll keep that one a bit darker. But you can just build it up. I'm not just flicking, so hopefully it'll come out nicely. And there will be a decal on some of these legs. No need to even try. Frankie has won the in-belly contest. A chanterelle is a delicious mushroom, I think, says Jeff. Right, go and start cooking, then watch one of the FBI's with Mum. See you later. Chanterelle is the Google translation. What? Yeah, hey Google, what's this German thing in English? Here's a French word. Brilliant, thanks. Thanks, Google. You're the best. I fly back home now, Frankie. I'm allergic, says Lynn. Ian's car is... I'm going... Oh, everybody's saying take care to Ian's car because he's going to go and start cooking. We do know, by the way, that you didn't actually say what you were going to be cooking. So if you're still here, we do demand facts of the foods. If you're not here, then we're just SOL, basically, I guess. Not much we can do about that. If you've gone already. We'll just call your names. We'll rue the day and all that kind of stuff. This is not very exciting for you to watch, I know. Sarah Jane's in, popped in to say hi to Lynn. Hi Lynn, hugs. Doesn't say hi to anybody else. Just saying pop in and say hi to Lynn. I think everybody in chat should be offended by that. I'm not offended because I don't expect to say hi to me because, you know, but everybody in chat should be offended by the fact that she's saying hi to just to Lynn. Not to anyone else. Scandal. How are you doing, Sarah Jane? SJ special Saturday night. Doing the head is a bit tricky. It's very small. Not even thought about what colours to paint his gas mask. He's got a gas mask on his belt. I've not even thought about the colours for that yet. Hi Jeff, hugs. There you go. She's saying to hello to everybody else now. That's better. Can't not say hi to your fellow chatters. Are you working on a model at this time, Sarah Jane? If yes, what are you building? Asks Jeff. One of her vast collection, I suspect. Because you have one or two models, don't you, SJ? You have a couple of models in your stash, one or two. Just the one, Mrs. Wembley. Just the one or two. Yeah, I think a second highlight might be a good idea, just for a little bit of contrast, but much of a more subtle one, like an edge highlight. But I'm not painting edge highlights. I'm far too old and ham-fisted to do edge highlights. That's not going to happen. And it'll be a quick whiz through with them as well, because obviously we've got a lot of dudes to do. It's going to take a long time just to do this stage. So we don't want to take every stage We don't want to make every stage take massively long time. So we can compare. Yeah, that's looking a bit better. It is supposed to be a dirty grey armour. It's not like 40k Space Wolves where it's all blues. It's supposed to be like a dirty grey colour, although there's variation. I'm struggling for things to talk about, by the way, you may have noticed, so please do give me things to talk about. Ask me questions and stuff. Didn't get any wash on his upper arm there. Oh well. It's getting highlighted anyway. It is not a major problem. This is the kind of technique that would look great on those big McFarlane Space Marines, to get that kind of real worn armour look. Doing it as a dry brushing rather than airbrushing, because it just gives it a certain texture that breathes life into the armour. Quite nice. Most pleasant. Right, that's him done. 4. I've done 4. Yay. I would say hi to Fox, but I might waffle back and I need to stay awake. If he promises not to waffle, I'll say hi. You're asking me not to waffle? Really? Swig of water? Jeff, I'm currently working on about a dozen models. I'm still cataloguing stuff on Scalemates, up to 379 so far, and got bored. Yeah. You know you've got a stash problem when you're able to write an entire wiki. When you're if you list your stash, it becomes more of an interactive wiki than a list. That's when you know you might have a bit of an issue with your stash. You're hoarding. Not a bad issue. Think of it, it's not so much a stash as an inheritance. Just somebody else's inheritance. I hear the Artemis launch was borfed again today. Had a leak in a hydrogen tank or something like that. It's like, oh. See what happens when you give them a limited budget. Give them more money. I can still smell that decal solution. It's most pleasant. It's tricky doing this and making sure you don't get paint into the recesses. That's where you don't want paint. But if you do the circular motion, it's quite easy to avoid that. Someone needs to invent a brush that you can dry brush with that just holds the paint, so you don't have to keep topping up the brush every 5 seconds. Some way that the brush handle contains paint and delivers paint to the brush, but in such a way that it's still minimal enough to be a dry brush. I think such a thing is not actually possible, but it would be awesome. One trick you can use if you're doing dry brushing, if you want to avoid obvious brush marks, is first of all make sure what you're dry brushing is a smooth textured surface anyway. If you've got a lumpy surface, it's going to pick out all the edges. But one little trick is a method that I use when I'm sanding for the same effect, and it's a method that I developed when it's something that came off the back of me doing detailing on cars. When you're, wet sanding a car and things like that, the trick is to go over the same bit a few times in different directions, so that all the little stripes and scratches that the brush makes out of the paint, little brush marks, little lines, they all cross over each other in different directions, and it just looks more like a blend than all the lines going in the same direction. Sounds really obvious when you say it, but you'd be surprised. If you just go in one direction, or you're going to see brushy lines. But if you do little circles and go over them and get them all going across each other, then it just blends it away. Same with sanding. If you're sanding, try sanding in one direction for a bit, and then at 90 degrees, and then at 45 degrees. It just means it all blends together and becomes less lined. If, for example, try it on a piece of clear plastic, you'll get the idea. If you go in one direction, it looks like scratched plastic. If you do multiple directions and go over at different angles, eventually it looks like frosted plastic rather than scratched plastic, because all the lines cross over and interfere with each other. And that's what I try and do when I dry brush. It's just munge it all up, and hopefully it all blends together. And you get that slightly airbrush effect. Slightly. Also means if you've got edges, you get both sides of the edge, so you don't get that kind of edge highlight effect. It doesn't make it as obvious. Which is why when you do an edge highlight dry brush, you just do back and forth in one direction, because that's all you want to do is get the edge, and you get one side of it. Bench and belly, SJ. Well, we've done your bench. What's your belly? What's your belly for tonight? What's the plan? Now, he refused to tell us last week what the pizza was, for some unknown reason. If it was because it had pineapple on it, don't worry, I like pineapple on pizza. If you like pineapple on pizza, you're among friends with me. But yeah, bench and belly. Shake this paint up again in a minute. Yeah, get yourself these base brushes. Medium base brushes, they're brilliant for this. They're almost useless for base brushing. Well, it's kind of alright for base brushing, for getting a smooth finish, but they just don't last very long. They don't hold the shape very well. I used to get frustrated, and I was like, oh, what if I dry brush this little thing? Oh, I need a small brush for dry brushing. Try it, and I was like, oh wow, they're actually better as dry brushes. And they're perfect for this circular effect, because they're really soft-ish. Jeff says, I'm enjoying a very rare day with no work, so I'm clearing my bench to restart modelling. I have half-done Schwimmwagen and Nebelwerfer that have been gathering dust. Cool. A screaming Mimi, were they called in the war? Screaming Mimis? The Nebelwerfers, the little sort of rocket launchers. I just got through an appalling little tall stack of bills on my desk that were demanding payment, says Jeff. Ugh. So Jane says, I'm doing a Salvino's JR Camaro in rollout livery, Williams FW16, BMW M8, Audi R8, 3 Kawasaki bikes, Mustang, Porsche 963, 911, BMW M6, M3, Scooby, 2 AMG GT3s, GT40, Thunderbird, NASCAR, and more. Andy McLeish says, blow up. How do you keep everything straight, asks Lynn. I would be confused on what I was working on. Now, here you go, Sarah Jane. You'll like this. There may, or may not confirmed yet, but there may possibly be something you will very much like in my building future. There may be a GT40. Maybe. I'm not 100% sure yet. I've got to sort some things out. But there may be a GT40 in my future. Very big GT40. Very big. But I don't know yet for sure, 100%. So stay tuned. That'll get your ears pricked up. Do 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 do. This is a very slow process. I will have lots of podcasts to listen to when I crack on with this off camera. Yeah. But I enjoy it. I actually enjoy it. It's kind of... When I'm doing a painting process that is really hard to screw up. I mean, it's really, really difficult to make a mess of this. You can't really go wrong when you're doing this. The only thing you can do wrong is either too much or a really bad colour choice. And so you can't really go too wrong. So I just really enjoy it because I can sort of switch off, put my brain into autopilot, and just crack on with it. And it's really, because then I can listen to my podcasts and whatever, forget all my troubles. Come on, be happy. Glazed MacGuffin Day. I can forget all my troubles and just crack on. So if there's lots of these guys do, it doesn't bother me. If I was working to a deadline, I'd be like, no, but I'm not really. Take as long as I want. So I enjoy it. It's kind of relaxing for me. I love painting, but the bit I love painting the most is the bit that you can't really screw up. Because that is brilliant. That's why I like painting, doing weathering with enamels and oils, because you put it on and if you do screw it up, you just wipe it off again. It's like consequence-free weathering and consequence-free painting are the best bits to chill out to. When I used to draw comic stuff, used to do my comic art and stuff, my favourite bit of that was the penciling everything in and planning the images. If I was doing a comic strip or, a graphic novel or something, I'd be planning the page layout and the individual frame, panel layouts and what the characters were doing and stuff. And that was my favourite bit because that's the consequence-free bit. You're just penciling in, and if you make it a bit of a mistake, you just rub it out and fiddle with it and futz with it till it looks good. The inking and the colouring, that was the tricky bit, because that's where you can make a mess of all your hard work and hours of work go down the drain. Yes. There's nothing worse than spending a few days drawing an entire page of comic art and one panel goes wrong and you're like, oh, I've ruined the whole thing. I've also knocked my camera. Yeah, that was frustrating. Because there's not a lot you can do. So yeah, I like these kind of processes. Like doing this and decals and, all the little simple stages where you can't really go too wrong. That's what I love. I mean, you can go wrong after this. I could start painting all the trim and leather stuff and start over painting all the delicate shading and the grey bits and be like, oh, I've ruined it now. But hey. Glazed MacGuffin, is that one of those rare ones, says Andy McLeish. That's a Sam & Max reference. But it's a reference to Sam & Max, the animated series. Come on, be happy. It's Glazed MacGuffin Day. Nobody ever gets that reference because nobody remembers the Sam & Max animated series as well as I do. I don't remember it that well, but just nobody remembers it. Most people weren't even aware there was one. It was good. It was reasonably faithful to the original source material. There was a few alterations and things he introduced, but it worked. It was acceptable. It was basically animated Sam & Max. What more did you need? But it was toned down a bit for the kids, What we need nowadays is a new Sam & Max cartoon series. Oh, seriously. Just Sam & Max is the best. Getting there slowly. Slowly. Slowness to maximum. But I enjoy this process. It's hard to mess up, and you can just sit back and chill and watch the world go by. Not literally, because you're supposed to be paying attention, but good times can be had. Your favourite podcast or some audio books or whatever you're doing, and just chill away while you work. Right, that's him done, I think. A bit more on his other arm, I think. Then we should have a swig of water and a look at chat. See what your little chachalons are doing. What time are we on? 6:15. Wow, been going for an hour and a bit and I've only done, well, 5 dudes. The problem I have when I'm painting like this is that I always underdo the contrast. So I'm doing it and I think it looks brilliant, but when I come back and look at it later, it's like it's all just homogenised and there isn't enough contrast. I'm like, oh, like I spend 3 hours like airbrushing all the highlights on a tank or something, and then when it comes to the end of it, I'm like, it just looks brown. It never works. I always have that problem. Or it looks great until I do the weathering and then all the contrast just disappears and it's like, oh, sadness. Right, so we need to do this arm because we didn't put a wash on his arm, did we, like a spoon originally. I'm not a big fan of the, well, it's not like I'm not a big fan. I understand that, you know, the Games Workshop way of base, shade, repaint the base, then the highlight, edge highlighting. It's a great way to learn how to use your paints. It's a great method for that, but I didn't do his backpack, did I? Did I? Oops. I didn't do his backpack. Silly boy. But I'm never that enamoured of the actual finished style. It looks interesting, but it's just doesn't look real. I did that backpack. Did I do that backpack? Did that backpack. There we go. So I've missed this guy's backpack. It doesn't look real. It's very stylized, and I don't know. It doesn't work for me. Apart from the fact I suck at edge highlighting because I haven't got the manual dexterity to do it. I don't know. It just doesn't work for me. It can look nice, but you know, especially on organic things like dirty, great big like dragony type thing or something, it can work wonders. But when you're painting like a vehicle or a figure, it just looks a bit cartoony to me. And I'd much rather go for a slightly more organic, chaotic look. And that's where I like dry brushing, because it allows you to do a sort of edge highlight, but you also get this little scratchy bits in there and all that kind of random little lines. And yes. And I'm not a big fan of the traditional way of doing chips as well, which is to paint a dark line and then the highlight line on the top of it. Again, that looks a bit cartoony to me. I much prefer to paint a light colour blob and then paint the rusty colour or whatever underneath it, in the middle of it. That way, rather than doing a line with another, that never works for me. Right, let's have a quick look at chat. I shall clean this brush off and switch to another one for a bit, so this one can have a chance to declog. La 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 la. Right, where are we up to? La 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 la. Lynn says, nom noms Andy until carnival traffic gets not so bad. Sarah Jane says, Jeff, it's the Fujimi 911 GT3R, which I have aftermarket decals for. A Le Mans car, the kit is just blank of livery. I have 2 sets of decals, so I have another in the stash. Oh, because Jeff asked which Porsche 911 she's building. La 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 la. Jeff is stuck at stupid carnival traffic. Had to make a detour via the shops for food noms. Stuck in a heap of traffic between the carnival and local McDonald's. Better go to local McDonald's then. Jeff is a big fan of plastic tubs. Also, tobacco stores really nice empty wooden cigar boxes for $1 or $2. I have dozens of them for whole project parts. Oh yeah. Andy says, I do. Now to the commencement of impartial justice. You mean brutal punishment? If he doesn't behave, that's what I said. I have no idea what I was talking about when you replied that. I said hi to Fox and he ignores me. It's typical. Well, I've been talking to you all through the stream. I've been responding to you and reading your comments. Honestly. Mind, that's a while ago. We've gone back there. Maybe we've gone back there. You know, I am busy doing painting. Where are we? Looks like a great kit, SJ, and no one applies car decals better than you. I want to build a 911 kit one day, searching the best one. The Fujimi 911 GT3R kit looks amazingly good. Anime Clee says, can I drive, Sam? Not unless you want me clawing at the dash and screaming like a cheerleader. Lynn's built 2 cars and an 18-wheeler back in the 70s, the Smoky and the Bandit Trans Am, Firebird, Kenworth truck. Do you know? I've been saying all kinds of things to you, SJ, all afternoon. And yet, I don't know. Right, let's crack on. Let's see how this decal's doing. That's the one I've just washed, isn't it? So let's just put that to one side. That can go and dry for a bit. This is the new dry one. Let's have a look at this decal, see how it's done. That's pretty good to me. I would suggest that the Games Workshop decals and the Forge World decals can quite happily be turned the other way up. So that when I use the decals for the Wolf's Head logo on the pauldron, I can turn them the other way up so they face the right way. Bonus, done, happy times. There we go. Now I know. There we go, nice and shiny. Oh, knocking the camera again, sorry. Nice and shiny, nice and shiny. Yes, there we go. Right, let's do a Terminator. Terminator. I've got news for you. There is no bathroom. Big old Termy. Is that in focus on that? Let me just adjust the focus. Very dark. Why is everything... Everything's very dark. But that's because everything is very dark, I guess. Just the focus a bit though for you. There we go. Then I'll move it here and it'll be out of focus, but never mind. What was that ungodly scream, Sam? That will be the commissioner. Muse is in. Muse says, I might be here. Hi Muse, big hugs to you. Willkommen auf dem Stream in Gefahren. Now with the Terminators, I think both pauldrons are going to be red on these Termies, so I need to double check that. I think the top pauldron is red, so you're not going to see my iPad now because I'm going to be searching, but let's have a look. Or let's put Space Wolves, Cataphracti Terminator. There we go, let's have a look. Images. That's me. Where are we? I mean, it does vary from painter to painter, but I just need a reference. That one's got like a marble pattern. That's weird. These guys all have black. Those guys all have red with blue underneath. They've done it as a blue colour. Okay, it seems to be whatever you want to do seems to be the correct thing to do, so yeah, let's give them red on the top pauldron, and then I think just leave the bottom pauldron grey. There's some artwork. Red on the pauldron and stripes on the other. Yeah, I can get away with it, I think. Any more? No. Well, that's rubbish then, isn't it? That's nonsense. Okay, right, cool. I think we'll go for red pauldrons on both, on the top, and then the bottom pauldron can be the grey. I think we'll do that. Yes, why not? I had a crush on Burt Reynolds back then when I was in hospital, says Lynn Dipple. Was it the Tash, Lynn? Asks Muse. Might have been the hairy chest, and that photograph of him all slumped out in the nuds. I think she saw that photograph and had a bit of a crush. Right, so I didn't put any wash on that little tilting shield. Never mind. We'll do a highlight on there, even that's all going to be gold. Oh no, these won't be gold, they'll be grey, won't they? Yeah, that's cool. There we go. Tiny bits on them pauldroniums. Squawk high cyan, says Lynn. Not me, Foxy, says Muse. No, I'm talking about Lynn. Although she was most upset when I was playing Cyberpunk the other day and my character had his gentleman sausage flapping about in the menu screen. It was most of a shock. So I don't know. It must have been the moustache or the hairy chest, I reckon. New place is good, still trying to unpack things. I got too much stuff, says Lynn, to Muse. Yeah. Unpacking's the thing you only have to do once. I've not put any wash on that tilting. I don't even know what colour the tilting shield's going to be. Maybe it'll just make it red. That'll make life a bit easier. There's lots of flat surfaces on these termies, so it should be relatively straightforward to get them all shaded up or highlighted up a bit more. Hopefully the contrast will be greater on these guys because there's more horizontal and vertical surfaces even, whereas on the Marines it's a lot of hard to tell where the light would come from type surfaces. Don't forget, folks, ask me questions in chat, give me stuff to talk about, because Lord knows I've got nothing else to talk about. I'm bereft of conversation today. I don't quite know why. I think it's because I'm absorbed in what I'm doing. I could quite happily just sit here and not talk, and I know SJ would love that, but, you know. Dee 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 dee. I'm even on camera? Yeah, just about. I've got to try and get the highlights between all these little bits of trim now. And the trim's going to be painted separately anyway, but it will help make the highlight more obvious, hopefully. Talking about the highlights. Yeah, it's weird. I often think I've put a great big highlight on something and then I look back at it a minute later and think, actually, there's nothing there at all. Talking about them highlights. Yes, I think one highlight coat will be fine. One proper highlight coat like this. Otherwise, it'll take me months to paint these things. And I don't really want to spend more months painting these things. I think we spent long enough on these. Need to get them done and dusted. out the door. Do it on camera, dear. Apologies. Camera location knowledge fail. Muse, bench and belly. Still haven't had a bench and belly from SJ yet. I did ask ages ago. But she's not telling me what a bench... What? Not telling me what a belly is. Come on, SJ. Belly. Is it an SJ special? Every time I talk about SJ special, I really want pizza. God damn it. I do apologise, I'm not saying much. I've got my tongue sticking out and everything. So not like me to be so quiet, I suppose. But hey, savour the moment. Jeff says, belly soon to be left over with everything pizza from last night. Good girl. I want pizza now, says Lynn. Mew says, I've got plenty here to work on, Lynn. I have tons of kits. Yes. Did you do that Baneblade, Muse? I can't remember. Or is that still in the stash? You know, the one that I forced you to get. Because I'm evil. Apparently. I forced you. I normally mock people when they do streams and don't talk, but I'm so absorbed in this. It's actually quite challenging for me. So for the love of dog, people out there, give me something to talk about. Ask me questions. Do something. Help me, Obi-Wan. You're the stream's only hope. Yes, I have a Baneblade. It is here, and yes, it's your fault. You haven't started it yet, then. You won't hate me once you start it. It will all make sense, and you'll be happy then. All will be... excuse me. All will be right with the world. Okay. Terminators are going to take a while to do. They seem to require a lot more effort than regular troops. But I think it comes out alright. Let's compare it to a non-done one. Let's compare this chap to this chap. See how it looks. What do you think? I think he looks a bit more alive. There's going to be lots of gold. Well, I'll say gold. It's going to be bronze trim. Lots of trim on these guys. So I think he has a bit more life to him, a bit more depth. Looks a bit more properly painted. Slightly. Look at the lightning claw you can see there. Bit of a difference, hopefully. Just starts to bring it together. I think a very, very light edge highlight coat might be in order later. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've done 7 dudes so far. I've got 50 to do. No, it's not started yet. I guessed that. Because you would have told me. These minis look quite good just like this, says Jeff. Yeah, I'm doing that. I do that quite often. I paint something and get to this point and think, I could leave them like that. But I must not do that. I've got to put some effort into it. Right, I've got to do head now. Do keep in mind they look a bit different on the webcam though to what they look like in real life. Let's put that in there. I've got to be careful with these things on the little things, because these are only held in with a little bit of super glue and it's very easy to dislodge them. And it's a pain in the bum to have to put them back on again. So I've got to go very gently with these. I can't particularly manhandle them. Manhandle! Thing is, if you can manhandle something, what's woman handle? Is it possible to woman handle something? Don't know. There we go. Just has a little bit of an airbrushy look to it. Just a little bit. I mean, you could probably get a very similar and faster effect by simply painting it the base grey colour and then doing a wash of an enamel-based wash like streaking grime or something instead of using a shade, because then you could just put the wash on, give it 10 minutes and rub it all away and it would get probably the same effect, but you still wouldn't have the highlight colour, you'd have just the base colour underneath. So you could sort of get that effect, but you'd have to paint it Dawnstone first and then you'd lose the Mechanicus colour underneath. I enjoy this bit. I quite enjoy it. I always feel good when I do a process that tends to come out right. I mean, we're all the same. If we do something and it comes out well, we feel great. If we do something and it comes out terribly, we feel like arse. But I know I can't really do too much damage with these, so I enjoy it. I know it takes longer, but I don't mind. How we doing? Don't forget, folks, if you're watching this and you're not in the live chat, come and join the live chat. Click on the YouTube icon in the bottom right hand corner. That'll take you to the YouTube page where you can carry on watching and you can join the live chat. Right, that's that backpack done. Backpack! I wrote on this one a little note saying which figure this was for. It either said axe or sword, because one of them's got an axe and one's got a sword. Unfortunately, it's been primed over twice now and I've got no idea who that's for. Well done. Like that one says axe, because I know it's for the axe wielding Praetor, so yeah. I'll never know now. Never any way to find out. It could be impossible. Such knowledge cannot be known. And rather cleverly I put axe on this one. I don't think I need to put axe on that. I never said I was smart. I take pride in being an idiot. I'm a card carrying idiot. You know that. You'll know that. Put my hand on that to brace it because I don't want it to bend and snap off the little stalk. I've got to hope I can glue this axe onto his arms without making a mess with the glue. That's the tricky bit. That's where the tricky bit will come in later on, you see. I've got to be able to glue this onto him and not screw it up. I think it should be alright. If I get desperate, I can always use PVA glue. It's not ideal, but... Sarah Jane says, lurking now as I need to cook dinner before IndyCar. I have asked you twice now what your belly is, but you've not said. Muse, having loads of kits is good. When I had no heating or hot water last winter, I made a nice shelter from them. Yeah, that'd be a good idea, actually. It's all warm in cardboard. Did you make like little tunnels and things? So you could have some fun, like a hamster in a tube. Little tunnels out of them. lady. I have no Baneblade, says Lynn Dipple. Curses. What was the last actual model kit you made, Lynn? I know you've done your Metal Earth stuff and your Legos, but what was the actual last model kit you made? It's been a while, I think, hasn't it? Been a while since you put glue to plastic. Well, no, once you get settled, of course, you can just sort out your building and painting area and you're back on then, aren't you? Game on. Right, I'm going to have to pause because this pot's leaking paint and it's getting into my hand. I need to clean it. It's never a good state of affairs when you end up covering your model in a big dot of paint. So let me... Ew. Just sort this pot out. Ew. Because every time I pick the pot up, I get a blob of paint on my hands. And it won't take much for me to transfer that to a model and be very, very sad. Very, very sad indeed. Right, more tissue. Tissue for my soldiers. You can't really see what I'm doing, but I'm just wiping all the gloopy paint off the rim of the pot. I could just open another pot. That would also work. I mean, I'll be honest. I hate these pots for regular paint, like, because you're trying to get the paint out of the pot. Let me just move this wire. Trying to get the paint out of the pot is a bit of a pain, but I do find these pots very useful for dry brushing. Because when you're painting a dropper bottle, it's not quite as... It's a bit more wasteful. You have to put paint on the palette and then do that, and then it dries off. When you're doing it with these, you just open the thing, get your paint out, close it again. So they do have their good uses. Sort of. Right, that can go there. Ripping, ripping. Look, Fox, did you know that micro to the cosmos is... Hang on. Fox, did you know that... Ooh, there's a super chat come through. The animation will appear shortly. Candygram Jeff puts, to be used towards replacement of the brush you knackered during the Frolic live stream, says Jeff. Oh, thank you very much, Jeff. Thank you very much. I'll find it. We did the Frolic last night and I did all this dry brushing. I'll see if I can find the brush. The brush got a bit destroyed. It's here somewhere. I can't find it now. Yeah, there we go. It got a bit destroyed, so I've cleaned it up with the Braster's brush cleaner. It's now just got like a funky quiff going on. It's a bit of a Mohican. That was a medium base brush. Yeah, it used to look like that. Well, no, that's even more knackered. Look at that one. But yeah, it's still got its uses. It's still fully useful. In fact, I'll keep that to one side now. Right, that one's wet, so I can't use that one. Thank you very much, Jeff. That was really appreciated. That was very, very kind of you, my friend. You're a legend. Right, what was Lynn saying? Fox, did you know that Micro to the Cosmos is having another T-shirt suggestion? What's Micro to the Cosmos? Oh, you mean I know what you mean. The Journey to the Microcosmos. That's yes, I know what you mean. Oh, cool. Because it was tardigrades last time, wasn't it? And you actually say in the next comment, Journey to the Microcosmos. So Jane says, oh, we've done that one. Muse is trying to finish building my toon tank so it can be primed and painted tomorrow. Ooh. Lynn says, actual model kit was a 148 F4 Phantom that I started, didn't finish, stupid stressful work in New Mexico. I got burned out and didn't have to do anything. Didn't want to do anything. Yeah, I know that feeling. Sarah Jane says, nice gesture, Jeff. Yes, thank you very much, Jeff. You're very kind. Love you lots. I have a jar full of living dead brushes, says Muse. Never throw brushes away. Every brush has a use. You know, even if it was there's nothing worse than getting an expensive brush and it ends up dying, but you've still got life to it. So I say I've got loads of these. Well, I need to get more of these base brushes because they are great for what I'm doing now. Absolutely perfect. brush of the living dead. Right, we'll see how long it takes for this jar to get covered in gunk again. I just noticed I was getting paint on my hand. It's like, yeah, I need to not be transferring that to the model, because that wouldn't end well. Oops, it's a bit too much. I'll need some correcting later. A bit too much went on there. It's fine. We can work with that. A little bit of this on there. It's weird though, you get used to using one specific brush. When you switch to another brush, it's like you've suddenly tried to drive with your other hand or something. It's like trying to write with your left hand. If you're right-handed, it's really weird. Your brain's like, wait, this brush is a different size and it doesn't work as well, and what? And you're like, dude, it's the same brush. We still don't know what Sarah Jane's having for dinner. Third time asking. We need to know the details, SJ. We need to know all the filthy food details. You know how it works. You know how this goes. It is quite relaxing. It's very relaxing doing this. You have to kind of forget that most of this will vanish and disappear with everything else that goes on top of it. But you don't think about that. But it does surprise me how many people actually get quite stroppy about brush paint, dry brushing. You know, when somebody can post up a picture of something, done some dry brushing, and some people can get quite snarky about it, like, hey, dry brushing, not proper paint. It's like, dude, it's a technique. It's as valid as any other painting technique. Shut up. No patience for people like that. Every technique is a valid technique. Results may differ, but there's no right and wrong. At the end of the day, you know, somebody's painting something done dry brushing. You don't know if they can afford an airbrush. Maybe they got an airbrush and they just didn't like it, and they're no good at it, and they can't do airbrushing because they hated it or they weren't very good. Maybe there's other reasons why they've chosen to do a dry brush and not airbrush it. Maybe they just like the look. I like it because it gives me more control. I like the look of it, and it fits with my particularly scruffy aesthetic. Sometimes, yeah. Not everybody can afford to go out and spend 150 quid on an airbrush. I'm not naive, I know that. I don't airbrush because, in a lot of ways, it's basically because I'm lazy. And I find it much easier to do this rather than having to thought about setting up the airbrush, and I hate cleaning the airbrush and all the other stuff. For me, it's just laziness. But I enjoy doing this, and I know I can get the results that I like. Yeah, I don't like when people do that, though. They take a sort of holier-than-thou attitude on a particular way of doing something. And it's like, no, You might like that way of doing it. Somebody else may have a different preference. Doesn't make them wrong and you right. Now these guys are going to have a grey pauldron, so I can just do a highlight on here. Highlights, the one bit I can actually do a proper highlight on because it's actually the curved surface pointing up at the sky, which is nice. We're up to Jeff says, are you and Fester planning on doing anything to annoy Gross Models on his upcoming birthday? If yes, let me know, I'll kick in. We were hoping to do something, but I'm skin as at the minute, so unfortunately we've not really spoken about it much yet, and we need to do something. We'll probably just send him embarrassing messages, I think. That may just be the way forward. I think he's doing a live stream though, isn't he? So, but thank you for the offer, Jeff. So I don't know. I've not actually broached the subject with Colin, but I know I'm skint at the minute, so I can't afford anything really. So I shall send him my love and hugs because they're free. And we'll just mock him mercilessly, I think. It's probably the best way to do it. That's what Colin did to me, so it seems only fair. Because he's big 5-0 this year, isn't he, Chris? He's an old man now. I think somebody should take the time to go and take a screenshot of like one of his earliest videos where you see his face, or the first time you see his face on a video, and then compare it to like the latest time and see how much his beard hair colour has changed. Just to compare then and now. Before oldness, after oldness. I'm painting his Widge Guard. I don't know how I feel about that. There we go. Comes out a bit scratchy, but that's great because it's old armour. It's old battered armour. And once everything else is painted on, it'll come out into context anyway, so it will be good. That's its shtick. Yeah, what are we on? 1853. I think what we'll do is I shall stop there with the stream. We're going for a couple of hours. I've obviously got a lot more to do, and I'll be carrying on with this tonight and tomorrow, up till live stream time tomorrow. Don't forget, of course, tomorrow Colin's got his live stream at 12:30 with Dave, Festa 67's workshop, but then at 5 o'clock, of course, he and I will be doing Warhammer Sunday. Yes, where we'll actually be putting the first layers of paint on our Lehman Russes, and I'll be showing him how I do it. Now remember, it's educating Festa. I'm not teaching him how to paint, I'm teaching him how I paint, so that he can learn how I do things and then adapt those techniques to his own way. The same way he's watching other people do painting videos and, you know, learning from them. He's doing that with me, but he happens to know me, so I can do it with him rather than just have him watch a video. Oops, dropped a brush. So that's tomorrow. That'll be at 5 o'clock, hopefully all being well. Keep an eye on the Facebook and social medias, and I'll post up when it's confirmed. I always have to confirm things on the day because I'm Mama Fox, unfortunately, so never take it as read that a stream's going to happen. Speak of water. But until then, thank you very much for watching, everyone. It's been a quiet day today, a quiet painting day. I've painted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 dudes, a head, and an axe. I'm going to be here for weeks, aren't I? Oh, yeah. But it's good fun. I enjoy it. And hopefully it looks all right. I mean, you can see. Just compare 2 dudes. Hopefully you get a sense of the difference now. Some of them may just come out looking lighter, but hopefully some of them will come out looking lighter but a bit shaded and patchy. I don't want them just to look lighter. I want them to have that kind of depth to them. I think this one I was went a bit too far. If you hold them to say one of them, you get the idea. It's a bit more subtle. That first guy there I showed you, that was when I changed the brush, and I've not got used to that other brush yet. So he came out a bit too light, I think. A bit too uniformly light, but that's fine. It's all gravy. There'll be more stuff going on then. But yes, thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourselves. Don't forget, of course, if you want to support the channel, you can become a patron or a channel member. You can go to patreon.com/modelmakingguru and become a patron, or you can press the join button underneath any of my channel videos and become a member or a channel patron. You're supporting the channel, you'll be getting loads of good stuff, and you'll be keeping this channel alive, because I do this for a living and I depend on you guys. If you don't want to do any of that, though, of course, don't forget, of course, just to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. That would be great, because that means you don't miss out on my content. And if you do watch my stuff, make sure you watch the advert. That costs you nothing at all. Watch the advert all the way through, but it really helps me out. So there you go. It's another way you can support me. Until then, until tomorrow, I shall say thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourselves. Go make something awesome. Go paint something awesome. And until next time, I shall say... Hang on, I've got to press my button yet. Until next time, I shall say... Adios, amoebas.